And welcome back, along with Alan Cavanna from, let's see, PRN, and how many other things you got in your resume these days, Alan?
Oh, all sorts of stuff. NASCAR.com, iRacing, Speed Sport. Whoever wants to, let me talk about racing. I'll be there.
Can we do a graphic? Can we build a full screen? Alan
would be all
Cavanna's
over.
resume.
It will be a full screen.
With a nice headshot up in the corner.
Yeah, that's where the head will have to go, because it'll be a full screen graphic. And that's Adam Alexander. He's from Fox Sports, and he's a star. He doesn't
I'm
need
just from
anything
Fox
else.
Sports. That's right.
He doesn't need anything else. He's big time. All right, I asked the question going into the break: should there be another dirt race at Bristol? A lot of speculation. This may have been it. What do you think, Alan?
Oh, that's tough because we just saw the best version of it. It's almost like it took 3 tries to get the perfect track, the best racing. I would hate to go away from it now. I like a dirt race on the schedule. Does it have to be Bristol? That's where I'm torn, because everyone's pining for what we see in the night race, and they've seen great night races the last few years. Is that a result of just doing it once a year and not getting it diluted with 2 of them? I don't know. I want a dirt race on the schedule. That's where I'll leave it at. Whether it's Bristol or not, I'm not so sure. Look, they do a lot of racing on the dirt track. It's not just the Cup Series. They do a week or 2 weeks ahead of time, a whole program for the racing world to get out there on Bristol. So I think in that aspect, it's good for the track. It's good for that community up there, the dirt racing world as well. It's not just the Cup Series race, but it's a tough decision. I want a dirt track. I want a dirt race. I don't know if it has to be Bristol.
Adam?
I like Alan's thought there in maybe doing it and not necessarily making Bristol the destination. If you wanted to go to an Eldora or a Knoxville or some of the other popular, famous dirt tracks that are around the country, that's not a bad idea. And then maybe you pull the expense down, and maybe as we look at the future of the All-Star race, and I know everyone's energized about North Wilkesboro, as they should be this year, but if that were to be a rotating event, maybe that is something that you take to one of these dirt tracks. If I were a betting man and you had me wager Friday, is this it for the Bristol dirt race, I would have bet yes. Only because I saw some comments from Marcus Smith where I felt like, he was going around in his interview and patting people on the back for a job well done. And he didn't close the door to doing it again, but he certainly didn't say it's a done deal that we're going to come back and do it in 2024. I felt like that gave an indication that this is probably the final go-around. Fast forward to Sunday night, seeing what kind of race we had, the energy that came with it, I felt like, maybe not so fast on this. It could make a return. It kind of comes down to, what do you want to make your philosophy on this? Do you want to be greedy and say, let's keep digging and see how good we can make it and keep growing this thing? Or do you want to be like Jeff Gordon, who in his final year, even though he came back and filled in for Dale Jr., wins at Martinsville and goes to the championship 4? You want to win late and then move on to the next chapter. If that's the case, I would consider Sunday night a big win for the Bristol Dirt Race, and you can call it a success and move on down the road.
Well, I mean, let's remember why one of the reasons that they went to this is the fact that they were having trouble attracting people to the spring race, and part of that was weather. Well, let's remember what happened last weekend. Friday was a washout because of bad weather, and it was really chilly on Saturday night. I mean, it was very chilly for the truck race Saturday night, and that, I think, is going to continue to be an issue. I don't know what the attendance was Saturday, 35,000 maybe. Or Sunday night was 35,000, and it was Easter. But the people look at Bristol, they forget what a massive facility that is, Alan. And 35,000 is going to fill up a lot of grandstands across the sport. They're going to see a full grandstand at North Wilkesboro, which is going to seat 24,000. But perspective's an interesting thing. Bristol is still a massive facility, and 35,000 is not a bad crowd.
No, and like you said, it's all about perception and perspective. 22,000 at Bristol, 22,000 at North Wilkesboro is going to get applauded and say, this is the best thing ever. Look what we did. We sold it out. Everyone came back. Meanwhile, 40,000 at Bristol will somehow get criticized. It's for the owner, it's all dollars and cents. So 40,000 sounds a lot better, I'm sure. But we are also comparing it to the heyday, and it's nothing like that. Is it because of the weather? Is it because of the racing? Is it because of the Easter holiday? People who make far more than me up on the ladder are having to make those decisions. I know the Bristol night race, in the fall or in the late summer is always fun. The drivers love Bristol as a track. It usually puts on great racing. But what we saw on Sunday, Adam made a great point. If that, maybe no one was expecting such a good race or such a good track after that rainy Friday, but we saw it on Sunday. I would like to see more of that if they're all going to be like last Sunday's race.
And how much of what we saw Sunday night from a track perspective is related to the weather that led up to it? I mean, it was a cool evening, which probably helps keep the track in a better place. And maybe all the rain that we had Friday helped set us up for success Saturday night, because I felt like the track was really good Saturday night for the Craftsman Truck Series race. And then, more importantly, Sunday for the Cup race. You are so much in racing across the board. You're always at the mercy of Mother Nature. But in this particular case, you're truly at the mercy of Mother Nature, because the impact the rain or lack thereof can have on the track and how it develops over the course of the event. There are so many variables that can make this a success, or in the eyes of some, a failure. And that is a hard pill to swallow when you put the amount of time, energy, and finances into it that you have to if you're SMI.
Yeah, and I think, Alan, you're right. I think NASCAR would like to keep a dirt race on the schedule. The question is, if you don't keep doing this at Bristol, where do you go? What dirt facility do you now go to?
And that's the dollars and cents question, right? How many, look, SMI has a wonderful dirt racing track, right? Probably a stone's throw. If you got Adam's arm, you can probably throw it and hit the dirt track right where you guys are broadcasting from. But, how many dirt tracks does NASCAR own? How many does SMI have? That's what it'll come down to eventually, right? Because no one wants to give up a race or go somewhere else or bring in another partner or what have you. So there's a lot of chess pieces that have to be moved around if we're going to another venue or adding one or subtracting one from somewhere else.
Did he just put me in Tom Brady's category? Because there's a 0% chance I can heave a ball over 29 and hit the dirt track from where we are.
Maybe not Tom Brady, Josh Allen, though.
Josh Allen.
He's putting you in center field and giving you Willie Mays' arm.
He went straight Patriots, Bucks to Bills. This is how Allen works. He always finds a way to slide in his teams.
This is the guy who we're standing backstage at COTA, and Hootie, Darius Rucker's performing. And Darius Rucker walks off stage, and who does he see? He sees Alan Cavanna holding up a sign that says "Go Bills," and he gets Hootie to cuss.
Yes. Well, if you don't know, he has that famous line, "I'm such a baby, the Dolphins make me cry." I knew he was a Dolphins fan, so when I should have been working, I had instead made a sign that said "Go Bills," and he loved it, I swear.
Alan, do you call him Hootie or Darius?
No, Darius. I don't know if he is Hootie. There's a whole thing. You don't want to get too into it.
I thought this was like an age gap deal, because immediately Brett calls him Hootie, and I'm like, I bet Alan calls him Darius. Even I call him Darius, So I'm not trying to throw stones. I was throwing balls. Now I'm throwing stones at Brett.
What happened to the blowfish? What happened to the blowfish? That's what I want to know. All right. Each week in the Raleigh Auto Parts Pit Reporters, we give you a chance to go to GoPRN.com and vote in our poll. And this week's question is, should there be a fourth Bristol dirt race? Yes or no? Very simple question. Last week we asked you, which of these is Ross Chastain mostly responsible for? And the choices were eradication of the dinosaurs, sinking of the Titanic, crash of the Hindenburg, all of the above. And as you can see, all of the above was an overwhelming winner, getting 76% of the vote. Eradication of the dinosaurs and crash of the Hindenburg got 11% each. And sinking the Titanic, only 2%. I did see Ross Chastain this weekend, and I told him about the poll, and he laughed.
I will say, after the Christopher Bell run in, and he says he's a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
I said on Race Hub that night, I said, you know what? I forgot to take the trash out to the curb last week. Do you know whose fault that was? Larry McReynolds, not understanding where I'm going with this, says, yours. I'm like, no. It was Ross Chastain's fault, So sorry, Alan, I interrupted you.
No, I was going to say Ross stayed out of it for most of Sunday night, and then of course he's the last caution, or one of the reasons they had to throw the caution. So everyone started piling on Ross. He was within a half lap of getting out with blameless time throughout the whole race, and then he gets blamed for that last caution, and we missed out on a good finish.
There you go. All right, yeah, he laughed. He did laugh. He thought it was funny because I said, after what Seabill gets out of the car and starts blaming you, I said, were you even at the same end of the track? He goes, I don't even know. All right, when we come back, Seabill was the 7th different winner in 8 races. Are we on their way to another 19 different winners this year? Stay with us.